Good day, everybody. I hope that you're well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 8 English lesson on quotations and dialogue. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English language arts. We're doing grade 8, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of quotations and dialogue. All right. So our chapter is quotations and dialogue. Our subject is English language arts. We're doing grade 8. So when it comes to quotations and dialogues, right? Sorry. So remember quotations, right? It is where you are putting words in, it's like quotation marks, right? It basically, you are putting words in quotation marks based on what somebody else had said. And that is why when we say quotations and dialogues, and then it means that dialogue is basically what someone had said, right? It is what the person generally has said, right? So when we use quotation marks, So when we use quotation marks around a direct quotation from a speaker or written source, then it means that a direct quotation can be written in several ways, right? And before we write or show how we can write, for example, these before we show the different examples, remember if you write something, if you're writing an essay or anything, and now you need to reference or quote from a book or from the internet, then it means that you need to cite the source, right? So if you want to directly say what the next person had said, right, and then it means that you need to put it in quotation mark because now it means that you're doing a direct quotation, and that is from the speaker or the writer who is either saying something or doing something or basically said or said something already. All right, so direct can be written in many ways. All right. So, one of the ways in which we can use the quotation, right? A direct quotation. So, a quotation can come after the speaker tag, right? Meaning, for example, you'll say that the person said, this one said, the person declared, right? That is the speaker tag. So now it says the quotation can come after the speaker tag. It says the speaker declared. Now we have our direct quotation. We can succeed by working together. That is one of the ways in which we can show a direct quotation. Another example of that is he demanded, that is the speaker, he demanded, who's there? He demanded, who's there? So, which means that we need to use a comma. So, we use a comma, and that is to separate the speaker tag from the quotation, like there, over there. And then we need to capitalize the first word of the quotation. It's like saying it was like starting the sentence with a capital letter. So, which means that our direct quotation is also going to start with a capital letter, even though we are putting a comma after our speaker tag. Sorry. And then also another way in which we can, so that is the one way, right? The second way is the quotation can come before the speaker tag. So this is before the speaker tag. And it says, we can succeed by working together. You see, there we have our quotation, the speaker declared. So we can work together. We can succeed by working together, sorry. The speaker declared. So which means that our direct quotation comes before our speaker tag. Sorry. Another one says, who's there? That is our direct quotation. He demanded. Who's there? He demanded. So unless the quotation ends with a question mark, like over here, so unless it ends with a question mark or an exclamation point, you need to separate it from the speaker tag with a comma. You need to separate it with a comma. So which means that, let's say, for example, you write, look at the first one that says, we can succeed by working together with a comma, the speaker declared. But if it ends with a question mark or an exclamation point, and then of course you put question mark or exclamation point. But the rest is with a comma. All right. If you look at another one, it says, yeah, the quotation can be interrupted by the speaker tag. So the quotation can be interrupted by the speaker tag. All right. So yeah, we say that the quotation can be interrupted by the speaker tag. And what do we mean by that? For example, if you look at an example, it says, we can succeed. So I'm going to underline that for you. So we can succeed, the speaker declared, by working together. That too could have been one sentence. All right. So which means that we can write it where the quotation is or let's say the speaker tag is interrupted. And when we mean that the speaker tag is interrupted, then it's like we start our speaker tag over here and then we end it off. All right. So that is also one way in which we can, for example, show the quotation mark. So the quotation can then be interrupted by the speaker tag, meaning that you start your quotation, says declared and then you continue your quotation, right? Which means that you're going to open quotation mark, write whatever you said, close quotation mark, comma. So we need to use commas to separate the speaker tags from the quotations and do not capitalize the second part of the quotation. So the start of the second part of the quotation, you do not capitalize that. And commas and periods of it always goes inside by closing quotations. So you are going to open quotation, you're going to say whatever you need to say, period, and then you close quotation. We don't put the period, the exclamation, question mark outside. It stays inside of the quotation marks. All right. All right. So now let's go to aplusstudents.ca. And we are going to be formatting quotations and dialogues. So that is what we are going to be doing today, formatting quotations and dialogues. All right. So we said that when it comes to formatting quotations and dialogues, right, we basically showed how to use direct quotations, right, especially from a speaker or a written source. And once again, we use quotation marks around a direct quotation from either a speaker or a written source, and a direct quotation can be written in many or several ways. All right. And there, once again, we showed if the quotation, if the speaker tag comes after, because remember we said we use quotation marks around a direct quotation, right? And a direct quotation from a speaker, it is basically either what the speaker or the written source had said. All right, so there we have our first quotation that comes after the speaker tag. And we need to write, for example, the speaker declared, declared, she declared, he declared, comma, and then we have our direct quotation. All right. So when you so once we, for example, put the direct quotation after the speaker tags, right? Then we need to use a comma to separate the speaker tag from the quotation. All right. So also we can have quotations that comes before a speaker tag, which means that you will first, for example, say declares, writ, sang, said, right? That is a speaker tag, and then only you write your quotation marks or whatever that's in your quotation marks. All right. So remember, we said that a quotation comes before the speaker tag, meaning that we will say first, says, there, and then we put our quotation. All right. So now we're going to our test where we're going to be formatting quotations and we are going to format dialogues. All right. So when it comes to quotation marks, remember then we quotation marks, it shows direct, it's basically direct quotations that you either got from the speaker. All right. And remember, do not forget to also put the punctuations where it's supposed to be when we are quoting, right? All right. So now, when it comes to, let's look at in a few examples before we go on to our test. It says we need to correct any errors in capitalization or punctuations, right? All right. So here we need to correct any errors or in capitalization or punctuation, right? And your answers should just be a single sentence, one sentence. So the first one says, I cannot, and I regret that we cannot publish your article, wrote the editor in chief after I sent in my manuscript, or option two, I regret that we cannot publish the address, the article, sorry, wrote the editor in chief after I sent my manuscript. All right. So if we were to choose, that is the correct error. So we can need to correct the errors, right? Then if we correct the errors, then we are going to remember we said that your um remember we said that your either punctuation type of thing is inside of the direct quotations, which is good. All right, so we say that I regret that we cannot publish your article, wrote the editor in chief after I sent in my manuscript. Or do we say I regret that I cannot publish your article, wrote the editor in chief after I sent in the these two are actually the same. It's the same. All right. All right. Let's look at the next one. It says I wasn't it not I it wasn't until I had an apartment of my own that I learned to be self-reliant. So it wasn't until I had an apartment of my own that I learned to be self-reliant. My father admitted. So keeping in mind, right, we have our direct quotation. Right? And basically it is the same. All right, let's go to our test. We're going to a test where we need to format quotations and dialogue. So is it option one, which says, I've been meaning to ask, said the detective, whether you happened to write down the license plate of the car or of that stolen car. So we need to choose either option one or option two. We need to correct the errors. Any errors we need to correct. Sorry. All right, and then we will go to, so we'll choose option one. Well done. The second one says, correct any errors in capitalization or punctuation. You need to answer should be in a single sentence. Although some people may consider dandelions to be noxious weeds, illa mused, I think they're lovely. So, which one is correct? Option one or option two? And if we were to choose the correct option, option one or option two, I don't know why that 36 is over there. So the first option is correct. All right. It says economist Bernard M. Is it Burr noted the art of living lies less in eliminating our troubles than in growing with them. So the art of living lies less in eliminating our troubles than growing in them. Which one is? We need to select the correct one, option one or option two. We need to choose the correct one, option one or option two. Formatting, quotations, and dialogue. And if we were to choose the correct one, we'll choose the first one. The next one says, it wasn't until I had an apartment of my own that I learned to be self reliant, my father admitted. So, which one is correct? We option one or option two? So, we need to choose the correct option, either option one or we need to choose option two. And we will go with option one. So the first one or the second one, we need to choose the correct quotations and dialogue. And if we were to choose the correct one, it says if we can accept our, our ecological responsibility now, future generations will be grateful that we took good care of the earth, concluded the speaker. So we will go with option one, right? The next one is we need to correct any errors in capitalization and punctuation. Our deeds determine us. So our deeds determine us, remarked the writer George Eliot, as much as we determine our deeds. So our deeds determine us. All right, and if we were to choose the correct option, right, then we will go with the first one, which is our deeds determine us, remarked the writer George Eliot, as much as we determine our deeds. So the first one is correct. All right, let's look at the next one. It says, they say that time changes things, but you actually have to change them yourself. So they say that time changes things, but you actually have to change them yourself, observed artist Andy Warhol. So we need to check for errors in capitalization or punctuation. So they say that time changes things, but you actually have to change them yourself. All right, and if we were to choose the correct quotation in dialogue, we will go with the first one, which is they say that time changes things, but you actually have to change them yourself. And that is the first option. All right, let's do the last one. It says, as former US President Herbert Hoover declared, words without actions are the assassins of idealism. So, as former US President Herbert Hoover declared, words without actions are the assassins of idealism. And if we were to choose the correct errors in capitalization and in punctuation, it says, as former US President Herbert Hoover declared, words without actions are the assassins of idealism. And then we will go with option one. All right. And that is correct. All right. So we said that when it comes to quotations and dialogues, right? When you write a quotation or you write a dialogue directly from what somebody had said or what somebody had written, right? And then you can either write your quotations that can come either before what the speaker had said, or it can be after the like whatever the speaker had said, a speaker tag, right? So yeah, this is now the end of our lesson. Thank you very much, grade 8s, for joining our class, and I really hope you are going to have a good evening further. Goodbye.